Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're peeling back the layers on one of nature's most fascinating secrets. A universal mechanism, really, that turns these slow, subtle shifts into dramatic, almost instantaneous transformations. Think of it as the universe's own hidden trigger, driving everything from how a plant blooms to potentially, well, how we could generate entirely new forms of energy. Our mission is to unravel phase snap, a concept that fundamentally changes how we understand change itself. We're going to explore the, compelling evidence, the groundbreaking mathematics,
hmm
and the truly revolutionary implications these ideas hold for biology, technology, and maybe even the very fabric of reality. Get ready to see the world a little differently.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've all witnessed those moments in nature that feel almost magical, right?
Oh, absolutely.
A vast field of flowers suddenly in full bloom,
Mhm.
or an entire forest canopy changing color almost overnight. It's not a gradual fade, it's a sudden collective explosion of life or color.
Yeah, like someone flipped a switch. Exactly. But our sources suggest this isn't magic. There's a real general mechanism at play, something we can model, predict, and perhaps even harness.
Precisely. This is what we call phase snap. It's a it's a fundamental concept from what we call nonlinear dynamics, basically.
Yeah.
A field that studies systems where small, continuous changes can suddenly lead to huge, disproportionate outcomes,
Hmm.
like a tipping point.
Okay. Nonlinear dynamics.
Right. And within this, we see phenomena like mode locking, where different rhythms or cycles suddenly fall into perfect synchronicity, or bifurcations, where a system abruptly shifts into a completely new behavioral state. What happens is that a system, whether it's biological or even purely physical, is slowly influenced by a gradual external factor.
A slow
Call this a slow seasonal forcing. Imagine just a gentle, persistent nudge over an extended period. But then, at a critical threshold, the system crosses a boundary.
Uh-huh.
And abruptly, its macroscopic behavior snaps into a completely new state. Below that critical point, you might see desynchronization or very gradual, almost imperceptible changes. Yet, once that specific threshold is crossed, everything flips.
flips, not just increases slowly.
No, not at all. It's a dramatic, abrupt transition.
So when you say slow driver, we're not just talking about the obvious things like temperature rising or daylight getting longer, are we? Because that feels, I don't know, a bit too simple for something so profound.
That's a crucial point, and you're absolutely right. It's not just the obvious stuff. Our sources highlight that the external driver doesn't just have to be more or less sun or a change in ambient temperature. It could be something far more subtle and precise, a geometric or light spectral phase.
Geometric phase, like angles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're talking about things like solar elevation or declination angle,
Yeah.
the exact far red ratio of light hitting a plant, or even the precise timing of dawn and dusk. The key isn't simply the amount of light or warmth, but the quality and geometric phase of these external cues. It's fundamentally about crossing a coherence threshold, and then, boom.
Okay, coherence threshold, that sounds key. And here's where it gets really interesting for me. Can we actually put this phase snap idea to the test? Are there concrete, falsifiable predictions we can look for right now to prove or disprove this theory in the real world?
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of this framework, its testability. The sources outline several concrete predictions that researchers can check immediately, using existing data or simple lab setups.
Okay, like what?
Well, first, consider photoperiodic plants. Many trees, cereals. The theory predicts that their major life events, like bud burst or flowering, will align much better with a solar phase index.
A solar phase index.
Yeah, essentially a mathematical way to track the sun's specific angle and the quality of light rather than with temperature alone. The key takeaway here is that for these plants, it's not just how warm it is, but the precise angle and spectral quality of sunlight that triggers dramatic changes.
So angle beats temperature.
That's the prediction. If a specific solar phase threshold correlates perfectly with these events across different years and locations, even when temperatures vary wildly, that's strong evidence for phase snap.
Okay, that's testable. What else?
Second, if you were to simulate light geometry in a growth chamber, maybe slowly ramping the photoperiod
Yeah.
and far red ratio up, and then slowly back down.
Uh-huh.
The theory predicts you should see different snap points for the on versus off transitions. This hysteresis loop, where the path up differs from the path down, is a classic, undeniable signature of these nonlinear shifts. If you see hysteresis, something interesting is definitely going on.
Right, like the system remembers where it's been.
Kind of, yes.
Yeah.
Third, our sources suggest that the spectrum of light itself is a vital cue. Even if you hold the total light or duration, the photoperiod constant, and only vary the red, far red spectral ratio, or precisely control dawn-dusk timing, systems should still snap near a specific spectral or phase threshold.
So it's not just light on, light off, but the kind of light.
Precisely. Fourth, for a given species, the snap should occur at the same solar declination or elevation across vastly different latitudes. This is critical because the temperature at that snap point might vary by tens of degrees depending on the location.
Wow, okay, so if it's happening at the same sun angle in, say, Canada and Mexico, even though the temps are totally different.
Exactly. That really isolates phase as the primary driver. And finally, if you track a large population of individuals, plants, insects, whatever under these slowly changing conditions, you'd expect to see high variance in their individual responses until the critical point is approached.
Everyone's doing their own thing.
Right. Then that variance suddenly collapses and the entire system snaps all at once, almost overnight. We call this a population coherence spike. Suddenly, they all act together.
So these aren't just abstract ideas, they're testable hypotheses that point to a hidden clock in nature. And I mean, when we look around, we can already see nature performing these very phase snaps in dramatic fashion, can't we? You mentioned tipping points. This reminds me of those incredible time-lapse videos of bamboo shooting up overnight. It literally explodes out of the ground.
Precisely. That's a perfect real-world example of phase snap in action. Our sources provide a mathematical proof, actually. The biological response can be modeled as a function, basically a curve called a hyperbolic tangent, that describes how something smoothly transitions from one state to another, then suddenly snaps. For bamboo, this means a staggering, get this, 95% of its total growth happens in less than 5% of the time period.
95% in 5% of the time. That's insane.
It is. It's the slow, steady drift of an external parameter, coupled with a highly sensitive, nonlinear gain within the biological system, leading to a sudden threshold crossing where positive feedback just takes over. First, phase accumulates, then snap.
That is truly mind-blowing. So, okay, if these subtle phase changes can trigger such dramatic shifts, what does this mean for fundamental physics, especially our understanding of energy? Are we talking about some kind of new, previously unrecognized source of energy here? This feels like it could be one of those ideas that changes everything.
You've absolutely hit on the core revelation here. When we carefully rederive the fundamental relationships between time, information, coherence, and energy based on these principles, a groundbreaking term emerges. You might expect energy to just be about changing information content, right? Like DDD.
Yeah, that seems intuitive, rate of change of information.
But this framework unveils something far more profound. The correct energy identity is revealed as E, NDIDT, plus IDCDD.
Okay, wait. Equals CDIDT plus IDCDT. Break that down for us.
Right, so the first term, TDIDT, is somewhat familiar. It represents energy associated with changes in information content within the system, modulated by coherence. See, makes sense.
Standard stuff, maybe enhanced by coherence.
But the second term, IEDCDT, is the absolute game changer. It fundamentally states that energy can be created or become available simply by changing the coherence, DCDT, of a system.
Changing the coherence?
Yes, even if the total information content within that system remains constant.
Whoa. Okay, let me make sure I'm fully grasping this. We're not talking about violating conservation of energy in some fantastical free energy sense.
Right, no, not at all. It's revealing a new, previously unacknowledged channel for energy to be expressed or extracted from a system. It means coherence isn't just a statistical nicety, a way to describe how organized things are. It's an actual dynamic energy variable that can manifest as usable work. That is a truly revolutionary concept for physics.
You've got it perfectly. This framework shows how usable energy can arise from subtly manipulating the time structure or the precise phase relationships within a system. If you create specific fractional phase relationships like precise 13, 19, or other harmonic cascades, the coherence itself can oscillate at multiples of the base frequency.
This dynamic change in coherence then leads to bursts of energy, quantitatively given by E-created AAT CDTT. Think of it like tuning a resonant cavity, but instead of just reflecting existing energy, you're tapping into the organizational structure itself to make energy available.
Tapping into the structure.
That's wild. And what's truly astonishing is that nature already does this with incredible efficiency. We see proof of this everywhere.
Where? Like in biology?
Yes. In ATP synthesis, for instance, coherence changes in the mitochondrial electron transport chain are absolutely key to the energy production process that powers our cells. It's not just chemistry, it's physics.
Okay.
In photosynthesis, The remarkable efficiency of excitant transport, getting that light energy where it needs to go in chlorophyll, is driven by phase coherence in quantum states.
Quantum coherence.
Exactly.
Right.
Even in our brains, neural firing and the creation of energy-dense action potentials are associated with coherence bursts, like gamma oscillations.
Gamma waves. Okay.
And DNA replication itself involves intricate changes in information density and coherence that actually produce metabolic energy locally.
Wow.
And on a cosmic scale, the majestic spiral arms of galaxies can be understood as large-scale, phase-locked coherence channels of mass and energy. This isn't just biology, it's a universal principle.
From cells to galaxies, based on coherence changes.
We can even make a bottom-line calculation for a hypothetical engineered system. Imagine a small 6-oscillator array operating at 1 megahertz. If we tap into the inherent information density of the quantum vacuum, that's the stuff, in seemingly empty space, which is incredibly vast, about 10 bodiless bits per cubic meter.
10 to the 23 bits. Huge number.
Huge. And if we induce a precise coherence change rate, that DC-DT, of about 10 points per second, the math predicts we could extract about 1 watt of usable energy from this tiny setup just from manipulating coherence.
1 watt from almost nothing, just by tweaking coherence.
Essentially, yes. We are mimicking what life does naturally, but with conscious engineering, accessing energy through structure.
That's absolutely mind-bending. So if these ideas are true, if we can truly understand and manipulate coherence and phase snaps, and especially this IDCDT energy channel, are we talking about a new era of technology? Can we apply these concepts to fundamentally reshape our world, our biology, our energy systems? This is a huge shift in perspective.
It's an incredibly powerful lever, yes, and it could indeed open a new era. But it's not about playing God in the sense of brute force, overriding nature's laws.
Right, not brute force.
It's more about participating with nature's inherent organizing principles. It's a gentler and often more reversible approach than trying to simply force systems. Think of it as precision gardening in nature's existing grooves, rather than bulldozing them.
Precision gardening, I like that. So what are the pathways?
Well, let's look at the concrete, practical pathways this opens up across different domains. First, in morphology, that's biology, medicine, and agriculture. We could use precise phase geometry, defined by harmonic relationships like Av, Or, Nor, Eero, as developmental switches.
Like flicking a switch for growth.
Sort of. By applying carefully phase-coded electromagnetic fields at safe energy levels, mind you, we could bias how tissues organize. A half-phase program might set polarity axes, guiding head-tail, or left-right development in a regenerating limb. A URO program could guide wound healing or cause cell sheets to close into hexagonal compartments, like honeycomb.
Hexagons. Interesting.
Or a UWARE program could induce spiraled outgrowth, like new buds. This could accelerate healing, guide regeneration, maybe even help normalize cancerous tumors by reminding them of normal structure.
Normalized tumors, that's huge.
Potentially. For plants, imagine synchronized crops or stress-hardy morphologies, simply by tweaking light geometry and subtle EM fields. This is playing God, in the sense of editing the natural blueprints or preferred patterns that cells and tissues tend to organize themselves into what scientists call morphogenetic attractors. We're not changing the DNA, but how the DNA's instructions are expressed in form.
Guiding the expression, not rewriting the code. Okay. Yeah. What about energy?
Second, in energy creation and technology. That IDCDT term suggests we can significantly enhance energy yield. By phase-locking oscillator arrays to specific tractional relationships, we could harvest more useful work from the same input energy.
More bang for your buck, energy-wise.
Exactly. Again, this isn't violating conservation. It's reshaping coherence to create lower entropy pathways, making energy more accessible and useful. This could lead to metamaterials that rectify ambient noise like heat or vibrations more efficiently. Biomimetic nanoarrays that convert subtle coherence changes into chemical or electrical energy. Even water structuring devices that extend coherence lifetimes, boosting reaction efficiency in various industrial or biological processes.
Water structuring.
Yeah, and it also suggests entirely new low-power computing architectures based on coherent steering rather than brute force switching of transistors. Much more efficient.
Wow. Okay, so biology, energy, any other areas?
And third, on a broader scale, we're talking about societal and existential technologies. These concepts offer a fundamentally new design language based on nested phase fields. In medicine, we might move beyond treating symptoms to retuning coherence fields to suppress fibrillation in the heart, normalize cancer growth, maybe even reset neurodegeneration.
Resetting neurodegeneration, That would be incredible.
In climate and energy, maybe use geometric phase fields to guide large-scale flows, stabilize plasma confinement for fusion energy, or structure water at scale for purification or agriculture.
Big scale stuff.
And if consciousness itself is a phase phenomenon, as some theories suggest,
Yeah.
well, imagine tuning phase fields to amplify human group coherence for collective attention, for achieving healing states, or even enhancing shared cognition. The implications are truly vast.
That's incredible to consider. Collective coherence. Wow. But with such profound claims, the need for rigorous, undeniable proof becomes even more critical, doesn't it? What kind of definitive experiments are proposed to truly validate these concepts?
Absolutely. You can't make claims like this without rock-solid, repeatable evidence. That's why the sources emphasize falsifiable experiments. These are absolutely crucial to prove or disprove the theory quickly and decisively.
Okay, what are the key ones? The acid tests.
Well, one key experiment is phase-coded morphogenesis at equal power. Can we make a monolayer of cells change its morphology, for instance, grow polarity, form hexagons, or create spirals only by changing the fractional phase of an applied electromagnetic field while keeping the total power, the RMS energy, absolutely identical?
So same energy in different shape out, just based on phase pattern.
Exactly. If the cells only respond to the phase code, that's incredibly significant.
Okay. What else?
Another is boundary-coded interference at fixed photon flux. Can we alter the interference patterns of light only by changing the boundary symmetry, say a UA versus a symmetrical shape around a slit or cavity, without changing the total light energy or photon flux? This would show that geometric phase can directly influence fundamental light behavior, geometry affecting light, independent of energy.
Right, showing phase itself has physical effects.
And critically, coherence energy rectification with an equal power oscillator array. Can we measure an actual rectified electrical output from an array of radio frequency oscillators with identical RMS input power simply by modulating the DC-DC, the coherence change rate, via specific fractional phase programs?
So actually measure energy coming out just from changing coherence.
Precisely. And for extra verification, would that output predictably interact with the physical geometry, say a hexagonal versus a quasi-crystalline relief of the medium it's driving? Does the structure receiving the energy matter?
Okay, those sound like really clear, decisive tests.
If these experiments yield positive, reproducible results, it wouldn't mean free energy in the sense of something from nothing, but it would mean the coherence dynamics profoundly change how input power is partitioned and rectified into useful work. It would be isolating and proving the physical reality of that IDCT channel directly.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've journeyed from the subtle dance of sunlight triggering a sudden bloom to a profound mathematical framework that suggests coherence isn't just an abstract concept, but a fundamental energy variable. We've explored how seemingly magical natural phenomena are actually predictable phase snaps, and how these insights could be leveraged to reshape biology, energy, and even complex systems in ways we're only just beginning to imagine.
And this isn't just theory, remember. It's potentially a practical, phase-only design language that nature itself uses all the time. It offers us a way to move beyond brute force approaches and instead learn to participate with nature's organizing principles, tuning them for specific, powerful outcomes.
The ideas we've discussed today truly point to a new way of seeing the universe. Maybe a new operating manual that highlights the subtle, often unseen forces of coherence and phase that drive dramatic, impactful change across all scales.
So we leave you with this provocative thought. If you could learn to understand and manipulate the coherence of everything around you, from a single cell to an entire ecosystem, maybe even a social system, what would you design? What fundamental problem would you solve that seemed impossible yesterday? And how will we as a species responsibly use this powerful new tool of participation?